Hello, my name is Scott Dickers, and I'm the proprietor of howtowritefunny.com. And I'm going to discuss tonight some options for learning comedy. So, there's this myth in the comedy world that comedy can't be taught, that it's something you're born with, that certain people are funny and certain people aren't funny. Total nonsense. Total nonsense. Nobody's born funny. No infant comes out cracking jokes. This is a learned skill like anything else. And I think we all realize that now. There's just a few hardcore losers out there who think that comedy can't be taught because they spent a lot of time learning it and they resent the idea that someone could just pick it up by a class or by practicing. They're invested in the idea that you're born with it. Screw them. Okay. Comedy can be taught and comedy can be learned. So what's the easiest way to learn it? And who am I? Well, how am I an expert on this? Well, first of all, I've been in the comedy business for some 40 years professionally, and I started out unfunny. I started out with not a funny bone in my body, and I learned the craft. And I'm convinced anyone can, because not only did I learn it from other people and with a lot of work on my own, but I've taught it to people. I've mentored people in comedy, and many of those people have gone on to great success as performers, writers. A lot of the writers at The Onion and Clickhole are former students of mine, people I've mentored. A lot of people on late night TV talk shows, The Daily Show, SNL, The Simpsons, you name it. These people all came to me with no comedy experience, most of them, and they learned how to do it. So I've developed systems for learning it, because one of the things that I struggled with when I was young is there was no information about it. There was no internet. There was no book that you could get that would tell you the steps, that would tell you exactly like how to do it. So, all right, no, I'm not going to do that. And when I got to a certain age, and I've been doing comedy a long time, I realized that, okay, I need to make this book that is going to teach people how to do comedy. And so I wrote this book, How to Write Funny, and I self-published it with no fanfare, put it on Amazon, and a lot of people gobbled it up. And from there, I developed this website, howtowritefunny.com, where I develop. That's true, Cameron. I cannot say no in improv. So I'll do a whole video on cleaning my guns in a moment. I've got to, yeah, I know, it's yes and. I got to get them out. I got to get my gun oil, and it'll be super fancy. So I wanted to create free resources for comedians and comedy writers who were desperate to learn it, didn't want to spend the 20 years that it typically takes to go to clubs and learn timing and just the agony of that process. And we've all heard stories of people who go through the Second City and they take those classes and they come out and they're working on SNL, or, you know, there's people from Second City everywhere. So we know there's some way to learn it. And I really wanted to quantify that, turn it into a process, an easy to follow process. So that's my book, How to Write Funny. But is that the easiest way to learn comedy? Actually, no. The easiest way to learn comedy is to love doing it. By far, the easiest way. Because if you love comedy and you love doing it, you're going to do it a lot, you're going to practice, and that's going to make you good. Like anything, practice makes perfect. The more you do something, the better you're going to get at it. So people need to realize when they're doing comedy, what practice means is you need to be doing work for an audience and putting it in front of a real audience. You can't just be working in secret in your basement or whatever. It's not going to work. You need to be doing stuff in front of a crowd. You need to be producing writing that goes online, videos that go online, podcasts that goes online, stand-up performance online, whatever you want to do. And I guess now there's some places where you can go in person, like Mississippi. Go nuts. Go perform at a club with no mask. And so the easiest way, like I said, is to love it. And if you love it and you're young, especially, you're in the prime age and the prime period to just obsess over it and do it a lot and get great at it. But let's say you're not young and you still love it. Maybe you don't have 15, 20 years to practice it and get good at it. That's where I come in. howtowritefunny.com, free resources, free ebooks that are going to get you started. They're going to get you on the right path and doing some really simple tricks that I wish I had been taught when I started out, to get the juices flowing, to start producing comedy, start making comedy, start getting it out there. Because that's what a lot of people skip. They skip the actually making things and putting it out there. They obsess over one project, they spend too long on it, and then they release it after a long period. Like, that's not how you do it. You produce a lot of work and you put it all out there. So that's the short answer. The easiest way, love it. And if you want the cheapest way, go to howtowritefunny.com for the free resources. If you want to spend a little bit more money and learn a little faster, you can get my book, How to Write Funny, which is, I think, $8 on Amazon. Not too bad. And if you want to go all the way, my course, How to Write Funny, which is based on the book, is a way to supercharge your process. I had people take my course. It was an 8-week course at the Second City, who came out of that course and got jobs doing comedy professionally after 8 weeks. So that's a super fast crash course way to do it. As I said, the course is available online. It's actually closing today. Enrollment is only open through today. And it's at a special debut price. It's $200 to get in the How to Write Funny course. I'll put the link below this video after it's done being live, but you can also just go to howtowritefunny.com/courses, and it's in the second row listed there, How to Write Funny. So that's a great way to learn comedy. You get my guidance on your work, and you get peers in the How to Write Funny Facebook group who review your work and give you feedback, because that's essential. Like I said, you've got to be producing work and putting it in front of audiences. It's the only way to go. So I actually got started doing comedy right out of high school. I got a job doing voice work for radio commercials and cartoons. And the reason I got that was because I'd spent most of my childhood producing comedy skits on cassette tape. And I made all these funny skits, and I collected sound effect records. Like most kids went to parties and went to football games, I was at home making comedy records. And so when I was 18, I had the equipment, I had the ability to produce a really good voice demo tape. And I went to a local production studio and I got hired. I got my first job was a radio ad for the Wisconsin Dells. And I played a teen who was nervous to ask a girl out on a date. And then he learned about the new wave machine at the Wisconsin Dells water park, and called her back all confident. Hey, baby, I know where we're going now. So I wish I had a copy of that. It was a lot of fun. And then I kept doing that. That was my first foray into doing comedy work as a performer. I always thought I was going to be a performer. I performed stand-up in my high school talent show, and I won an award. And that's what I thought my track was. But then I also was doing other things because I loved it. I was doing a comic strip for my high school newspaper, and I tried to get a comic strip published in newspapers. And eventually I sold one a couple of years after I started doing the radio voice work. And then I got another comic strip published in a different newspaper that became really popular, and it was syndicated to a bunch of different newspapers. That was called Jim's Journal. I can see if this shows up backwards. Yeah, it shows up backwards in both places. I got to get better equipment. But this is the treasury. It's all the Jim's Journal cartoons. Oh my goodness, 10 years. So that was when I started really killing it, because I had like 2 comedy jobs, and I was making a good living doing comedy, and I was in my early 20s. And then that comic strip led to me doing The Onion. So I met up with these guys who were starting up this humor publication in Madison, Wisconsin, and They wanted me involved, and I did. And we started doing The Onion as a newspaper. Here's a copy of The Onion newspaper from back in that day, and learned so much at The Onion. I learned so much doing a comic strip, doing comedy work every day, and trying to write something funny every day for years and years and years. You really get good at it. So that's why I recommend people do it and practice. You know, we had to put out an Onion every week. I had to put out a comic strip every day. I was still doing the radio ads, and I was starting to get more national work. I used to do impressions. I would do a lot of Jerry Seinfeld and Clinton in the 90s. And I got, oh, you want that newspaper here? Yeah, those are hard to get now. And I got hired by MTV to be on that Celebrity Deathmatch show. If anybody remembers that, to do voices for them. That was a lot of fun. And from there, from The Onion, I was able to branch off and to do all sorts of work. We did a few TV pilots. We did one at MTV, different show. Celebrity Deathmatch wasn't our show. And we sold one later to IFC and Comedy Central. And I just sold one to Comedy Central a couple of years ago. That was an Onion related show. And I made a couple of movies. So I've had my finger in every media pie. And my mission now is to pass on what I've learned, to pass on all the wisdom that I've attained. So that's my little pitch and my little story. And I hope whatever level you're at, you can make use of that, and you can learn comedy from scratch, or you can improve your comedy in progress. I've got you covered on all fronts there. Hugh, Celebrity Deathmatch creeped you out? Yeah, those clay creatures, those people, they did not look good. They were very creepy. I totally agree with you. So I hope that helps you, everybody. And I'll see you in the computer. I'm going to sign off for now. Have a good night. If I can figure out how. There we go.